Welcome, cosmic listeners, to a journey unlike any other you've embarked upon. As the vastness of space stretches out before us, so too does the vastness of our own minds. This is where the ethereal meets the extraterrestrial, where inner space meets outer space. I'm your guide, alongside my hosts, Doro and Matt, and you're tuning into the intersection of meditation and mysteries beyond our stars. Picture this: a vast universe, ever expanding, filled with stars, galaxies, and possibilities. Now visualize our own minds equally deep, intricate, and filled with untapped potential. What if these two worlds aren't as separate as they seem?
All right, well, that was an intro that our AI co-producer helped write, ChatGPT. This is Matt Reddy. Thank you for tuning in to this. Uh, I'm here with my good friend Doro, and this is Meditation and Aliens. I am the co-host of another podcast called Beyond Humanity that I've been recording with Margaret Howe for the last several weeks, and we delve deeply into the topics of alien disclosure that's been sweeping through Congress all this summer, and the topics of many topics related to it. So I'm very excited today to have Doro here with me to start a new conversation that is exploring the overlap between the world of meditation, which Doro has a lot of knowledge and experience about, and the whole topic of alien life and life in this universe and everything in between. Um, with that, hi Doro, thank you for being here.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me. Did you want me to go ahead and say a little bit about
Yeah,
myself or?
yeah,
Okay.
please tell people about yourself, and then uh, I believe you're gonna guide us through a meditation. So yeah,
Yes, I'll tell you a little bit about me and then I'll do a 10 or 15 minute guided meditation.
great.
So I'm 70 years old. I've been meditating for decades, and in the 90s, I was certified as a life coach, so I can help people bring meditative and mindfulness practices into their life, so they can more easily manage the transitions that they are facing in their life. Or even just going into the deep dives of discovery of who they are and what it's all about. So my business is creationcoach.com. I have lots of little videos on YouTube and shorts that I'm enjoying making. Thanks to you, Matt, I've learned how to do this AI art and creating avatars. It's been a real journey, so thanks for that. And there's more to come. I can see you're very much into all this technology, so it's,
Yeah.
it's it's a very interesting mix. So yeah, the bridge between meditation and aliens is an interesting one, because I have found over these decades that as I meditate, I'm finding it's a little bit shifting here and there, and I'm getting insights. Now that's not an unusual thing, because anybody can tell you there's even a special meditation called insight meditation, which is just sort of clearing the mind as best you can. There's always going to be chatter going on in the background, more or less, but you calm your mind enough. And then sometimes, and not always, but on occasion, you will suddenly have an insight. It's like you suddenly know something and it comes up like a memory. It feels as though you've been smelling something and suddenly a memory pops in. Is that odor it reminds you of something. So it's kind of like that. It's just an insight that pops in and it feels like a memory. And what's happening for me lately, and has been happening probably most of my life, is that I can actually get these insights from what I feel is a much higher consciousness, much higher, and nothing that I'm seeing even on this earth, but something that can really um, teach us deep lessons about life and give us insights. And not that it's a conversation per se. There's not really words going back and forth. It's just a deep understanding, and it's kind of hard to describe it unless you experience it. So what I'd like to do is just provide a short 10 or 15 minute guided meditation just to get your audience into that deep, calm, receptive space without trying to figure things out or analyze it or judge stuff. This would just be calming, clearing the mind, creating um, an open field. It feels like just an open spaciousness. So whenever you want to start, I can jump in with that, unless you want to know a little bit about my background, which is a whole other story. But we could just we could
I
just
think let's meditate first and then
yes,
see where the
that
conversation.
sounds good.
Great.
Okay, so right now we're gonna try to just get ourselves comfortable, and obviously, if you're driving a car, you want to keep your eyes open for now. But everybody else, let's just try and get comfortable and see if we can come into a space of just being okay with where we are right this minute. I'm going to ring a bell, and I'll invite your audience to pay attention to it from the beginning to the end and see if you can hear the wobble of the vibration on your eardrum, and just sense that what it's doing to your nervous system. So really just explore the sound, the vibration, the harmonics, and we'll do that for just a minute. So we'll go ahead and start now. So now, with our eyes closed, let's go ahead and start with a couple of deep breaths. And what we're going to do now is watch how our body expands and contracts with each breath. So we'll just do this for a couple of nice deep breaths. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. So what we're going to do is we're going to just be the witness to what's actually happening. Not what we think is happening, but we're going to move into that space of just observing what is. So if you're seated, I should say, try to feel your butt on the cushion or the chair, just the weight of your body pressing down. You can feel your feet on the floor. Begin to feel anything else that's coming up into your awareness, maybe the feeling of your clothing on your skin, sounds coming through your ears, might be a motor running or cars driving by. So as we're taking in all this information of what is actually happening. We are slowly allowing the inner chatter to kind of move away a little bit so it's not taking over our mental space. And a lot of times when the mind is extremely active, it helps to have what we call an anchor. And that can be any mantra, it can be any word, something hopefully that holds a nice vibration. But for now, we can, if we need to use the anchor, just breathing in, breathing out, just to stay present. So I'm going to be quiet for a minute, and I'm going to encourage everybody to just go through the senses, the touch, sight. You can open your eyes and see shades, colors, shapes, depth, movement. We're trying not to label everything. So for now, we're just going to use this for a minute to get present. So I'm going to be quiet and let everybody discover their own space. If your mind wanders, which it probably will, the point is to recognize it. Not to judge it, just to recognize that this is the nature of the mind. And then choose to bring it back into your body, into your senses. Breathing in, breathing out. See if you can notice that sense of life in your hands. The hands are always slightly buzzing with this feeling of life. Notice how your body always tries to maintain posture, muscles contracting and releasing. So as we're moving into this receptive, curious place, looking to just discover what is, we can hold an invitation for any insights coming from a much higher realm. Now, we don't have to anticipate it, we don't have to wish for it. We just have to be receptive and open. Any insights coming to you might not be in the form of words at all, but rather a feeling. Suddenly your heart feels touched. You might just sense like a warm blanket wrapped around you. We're being invited to connect with a much higher potential. And again, if your mind gets carried away in thinking, just notice that. No judgment. It's just what the mind does. The noticing of it is the most important part because that gives us the choice to come back, to let go of it and come back to our body. So we're not going out into space anywhere. We're just right here in this space with our feet on the floor, our butt on the cushion. We're not trying to go anywhere. We're right here. In a state of receptivity. We want to make our intention clear that we are seeking higher energies, more evolved wisdom. We want to create sort of a channel, a communication pathway for love. We want to be pretty intentional about that. Just to open our hearts. I can sense this divine intelligence who recognizes something is wrong with our world. And Stephen Greer would say that we have to show them where we are because they're tuning into us in a psychic way, but don't see us on the map. So he advises to actually show them our Milky Way galaxy, show them where our planet is, and just create that address. Here's where we are. And just ask for their guidance. And we're not talking out of fear, out of anxiety. We're talking from a place that we know we can do better. We know there is a more beautiful world that we could create. We just need some guidance. Breathing in, breathing out. And so now we'll just slowly open our eyes and come back to the show. Let me ring the bell just to bring us out of that. So yes, I do feel that there is a much higher interest, much greater intelligence, consciousness that wants to help, but we have to invite them and we have to let them know where we are.
Thank you very much for that. That was silly, like putting a judgment on a guided meditation, but that was
Yeah. It's really a natural state of being. You know, meditation is not some big woo-woo thing. It's just what we always did before, you know, television and all the entertainment. And I mean, a lot of people would just sit and whittle all day or knit, crochet, and that was a meditation. It's just being.
Yeah. Several possible questions I have for you.
Right. Yeah. Good.
It was interesting you mentioned Stephen Greer, because we've been talking, you and I, about some of his guided meditations. In particular, there's one version of his CE5 meditation that I've listened to like 10 times, and I think you've listened to it at least a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned well, that we're basically it's almost like a telepathic connection with other consciousness, other beings, and he talks about the same thing. And yeah, I was kind of curious, could you, like, while you were guiding a meditation, I mean, could you like relay to us during the guided meditation things you're hearing or feeling communicated?
Yeah, you know, that's, I think that's my next step is because I do hear it. And it's more like a translation. It comes through in sort of a compact energy bunch, and it is filtered into words, my language. So, you know, this comes through in any language. And it's your vocabulary that gives it words. The understanding is offered, and then you put words around it. So yes, I get I get these insights or feelings that are being communicated, and I tend to decipher them in my own head. I have not done much in the way of actual channeling because I think that's what you're referring to. But that would be the next step. Um, I've always had one foot off the boat when it comes to channeling. I've never really felt like you could trust everybody who's channeling. So, but I do think there are very much authentic channelers, and I think if I could do it, I would probably be as authentic as I can be. So,
So
um,
what is channeling?
channeling is actually being the mouth for somebody speaking, or just not speaking through you, but giving you those condensed energy packets of information, and then you transcribe it and speak it. Um, you hear it, you sense it, you feel it, and you speak it. But you are not really offering your agenda, your own opinions. It's just coming through you.
Hmm.
I used to do a lot of what do they call writing. You know, the I guess it's channeled writing. I
Like while
used
you're meditating or after you meditate?
no, not it's sort of before and after. When my mind is quiet, but not obviously sitting with my eyes closed. I would be in a quiet space. And I used to like to do it early in the morning with a little candle at the breakfast table with my notebook and just write a few pages. And sometimes that felt like channeling quite a bit, actually. Just
So what
speaking my thoughts. Go ahead.
so I'm kind of curious. I haven't really like delved into this with you, but what is it that inspired you to begin sitting in, or really learning about meditation or really practicing it? Where did that come from? And how, give us an idea, how long have you been practicing it?
Well, it's interesting because, gosh, when I was 13, my father taught me how to meditate. My parents were very interesting. They were both very much on a spiritual path. They were breakaways from the Catholic Church and went into their own paths before they met. And so when they did meet in their teens and early 20s, they really connected on a spiritual level. And so my father, and this is interesting, I always knew he was deeply spiritual and philosophical, but my brother just recently told me that he was actually a Rosicrucian, and I had to jump down that hole and go find out what that was. So that gets into all the mystery teachings. Anyway,
Hmm.
that's the lineage I'm coming from. Is both of my parents were very much deeply into spirituality. My mother was an astrologer, and she always hung out with psychics and friends like that. So it was an unusual upbringing back in the 60s and 70s. So that I got an early start on meditation. We went to My mother sent us to the Edgar Cayce camp in Virginia, which has they call the ARE camp, Association for Research and Enlightenment, just to learn meditation and yoga and all that.
Hmm.
So it goes way back, like I said, I'm almost 70. I'll be 70 in a few months. So it's been a long time meditating. I've had a lot of experiences and retreats. Um, I go to a Buddhist monastery retreat here in West Virginia. Um, so yeah, a long history with meditation.
Hmm. That's interesting. And so when you were first taught meditation, it was from your dad. So what style were you taught at first? And how, like, what techniques have you like delved into over the years, or is it stayed very consistent?
Well, it's consistent for me because I keep coming back to the simple practice of vipassana, which is just the understanding that we are in the present moment and tuning in to what that means. Um, that's always been my go-to meditation. Now, of course, there's thousands of meditations. There's visualizations and hollow sync meditations. There's meditations on specific things and mantra meditations. So there's a lot of that. Um, but yeah, I tend to always come back to the basics, which is just follow your breath because It's always with you. As long as you're breathing, it's there. It's reliable. And when your mind is scattered and you're about ready to pull your hair out and jump off a cliff, you can always just sit down and come back to your breath. It's like your best friend. It's always going to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, something I've never been able to really stay with the breath. Uh I mean, um but one thing that has like struck me lately as I've maybe been really trying to reestablish sort of like a nice meditation routine in my life, because it's very beneficial. But one thing I've really realized about the breath is it's a constant transaction with the universe. It's a constant, because sometimes people say visualize, you're breathing in the good, breathing out the bad, but it's like it kind of was funny when I realized you are breathing in stuff. Your body is exchanging it, vital stuff you need, and hopefully healthy stuff. And you are literally taking in stuff and giving out stuff in that breath. And just like drinking, or, it's like, um, I don't know, it was just sort of it was a weird revelation for me that instead of trying to imagine breathing in the good and out the bad, I was just like, why not just pay attention to what's actually happening? Feel what you're breathing in and feel what you're breathing out.
I love that. The other thing I'm playing with these days is the fact that what we carry around is not really human. You know, I mean, 10% of it is human. So we are about 72% water.
Mm.
And all of the DNA in our body, the majority of it is bacteria, viruses, you know, our whole gut biome is, the majority is where the majority of the DNA that we carry around is in our gut, and it's not even human. So you have to ask yourself, what am I? If I'm only carrying around 10% DNA and I'm 72% water. Yeah, and you're right. Everything around us, we take it in and we release it. It's the water is coming and going, the air is coming and going, the food that we eat is coming and going. So
Mhm.
it's a good question to ask. What am I? I think we're a lot more than just this body. I
Yeah.
know it. I know it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and do you mainly practice being still for meditation, or do you explore different types of movement? Uh,
Well, these days, yes, it's just been sitting meditation. My formal practice. I also do a walking meditation when I go for my hikes. I really try to take in the surroundings. I enjoy walking in the country, so I'm really looking at the trees and hearing the gravel under my feet or whatever. But even if you're in the city, you can make that a beautiful meditation, listening to car horns and people screaming. I mean, that's life. So you can be present and loving in any environment. It takes a lot to be in a very obnoxious environment and feel loving, but it's a practice. It's a never-ending practice, something to work towards. Yeah.
hmm.
But I think I used to do yoga, so that was a deep meditation for me. Movement meditations are very, very powerful. Qigong, Tai Chi, certain forms of sacred dance. These are all forms of meditation. Yeah.
Have you tried any of those?
Well, I've done the Qigong, I've done the Tai Chi, I've done the yoga. Um, yes, I've done all that. I have not done the sacred dancing, but I would love to. I'm dealing with some, at 70, I've got some limitations on my shoulder range of motion, but yeah, I would love to do all of that. It's all valid. It's all based in being present and mindful of what is.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely, I've grown incredibly curious about uh yeah, this whole alien disclosure thing that's been happening the last several years and really that took off this summer is completely changed my attitude towards meditation and pushed me to try to understand it more deeply and really try to look and see if there's anything happening that I just completely have never really noticed. Um, so it really makes me sort of, it's made me like go back to really practice some time being still. I've sort of cheated, I think, a little bit on entertaining myself over the years and letting myself move when I'm practicing meditation, even if I'm just moving slowly. But you definitely, you're taking away some of your attention when you're moving versus just being still for, 30 minutes at a time.
For me, it goes deeper. But I think there are probably qigong masters out there who don't have to sit still to get there.
Yeah. I just think I realized, um, there's stuff to learn being still. There's just stuff to learn.
Absolutely. The beautiful thing about being still for me is sometimes you just feel this is torture, right? So I'm not going to advise this, but sometimes you have an itch or an ache, and just trying to watch it without doing anything about it.
Yeah,
That can really be a practice unto itself. So it can kind of force you to go deeper.
yeah. So, and one thing I wanted to ask you about really came up in the Stephen Greer guided meditation because he sort of invites you to visualize going up into space, seeing the Earth and the sun and the planets. And he suggests that the sun and the Earth are alive and conscious. And I found that incredibly interesting, and I guess I also found myself way more literally open-minded to that possibility than ever before in my life because so uncertain of the nature of every aspect of our reality suddenly. What do you think of that concept of the Earth and the sun being conscious? And when you're meditating, do you feel like you can feel their consciousness if you do?
That is such a beautiful practice. And this is brand new to me too. I mean, we all grew up believing that everything about outside of us was, the earth was not conscious, the sun was not. But the more I go into my own meditation and connecting with these higher teachings, um, I'm learning that everything is conscious. And we are just in the middle of a big ocean of consciousness. And I'm talking even the air around us is conscious. So, what separates the air around us from me or you is just that we are, and this goes into quantum physics and all kinds of other theories about the torus shape and everything, but we are at an intersection. Each human being is at an intersection of time and space, which gels into this energy form that we are embodying. So that might be a little far out for some people, but everything around us is conscious. Everything, every leaf, every blade of grass, the sun, the moon, the stars, the galaxies, the air we breathe. It's all conscious. So what we want to do, and it's all there. There's nothing inherently good or evil. But if we want to have happiness, we want to intentionally focus our gaze toward goodness, because that's what we will create. That's what we will surround ourselves with if we maintain that open, spacious, higher consciousness intention. It just makes for a better life. Because if you end up opening the lower portals, you can go into a hell that is so deep, you just don't want to even think about going there. But it's there, and it's not something to be afraid of. It's just the other side of the coin.
Hmm.
Um, we can't have one without the other. So while I believe that there is the lightest of the light and the darkest of the dark, I do believe it's healthier for most people to sort of have the intention of aiming a little bit towards the light. But a lot of times I'll just say whatever's balanced, whatever feels completely balanced in any given moment is where I want to be.
Hmm.
But I think everything is conscious. Yeah.
So I'm so glad we're recording this because I'm going to go back and listen to the whole thing again. So because there's several different ideas you sort of brought me down, but I want to come back to the sun and the earth. Just
Mm-hmm.
I found it. So do you feel, you said the air is conscious, everything's conscious, but are some things like humans seem to be a unique type of consciousness because we're agents in this world, we affect it, we have seemingly almost so much a capacity for good and evil, for destructive and creative, and I guess because you and I live in this human world, we have a, you know, I have like an interest in trying to help this world be a more utopian, wonderful place, while also just accepting it is what it is and trying not to be, bugged by that. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if say aliens are real in some way, is there a consciousness? Are there really powerful alien consciousness in our, say, solar system? And if so, where are they? And I guess one of my practices during meditation, I've been paying way more attention to trying to figure out if I feel consciousness or something in a certain direction, to actually see if I can just sense what direction, um, if there is, say, really powerful aliens or anything in our world that's just unseen that we haven't been seeing. And so I've really been thinking about the earth and the sun and other bodies in our solar system, whether or not they could be actually felt. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Everything that we are looking at from our own individual personal perspective is filtered through our sense of judgment that we were conditioned into. Um, so trying to find out what's good and what's bad is can be exhausting. Even trying to figure out who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, are Republicans and Democrats, I mean, it's just divisiveness, this trying to figure out who's got the white hat, who's got the black hat. But if you can stay centered, um, I think you have a much better chance of finding peace. Even more so than if you go off into the highest realms, because by my experience, and I'm totally open for conversation about this, by my experience, if I go way into elation, almost, just I'm going to disappear with joy or whatever, within time, over time, there seems to be a pushback. And then I drop, and then you go the other direction. So for me, it seems to work like that for every really high moment, I end up with a very dark moment. I mean, it's just so, it's like, okay, we're just going to stay in the middle here and see what happens. It's kind of like a wagon wheel. If you look at a wagon wheel, right, right in the center hub, even if the wheel is spinning, right in the very, very, very minute center, there's really not much going on. But if you're a piece of bubble gum stuck on the outside of the wheel and just going up and down and up and down, you're kind of really going for a dramatic ride. And meditation is the practice of coming more and more into the center. That's how I like to see it. Um, I don't know if they still have on the playgrounds these merry-go-rounds that, all the kids used to jump on and spin and everybody'd hang on for their life. I don't think they have them anymore because of the liability. But the game was everybody had to try to get to the center, to be able to hang on comfortably. Because if you get to the outside, you get thrown off by the centrifugal force, right? So my suggestion is stay centered, stay balanced, right in the middle, whatever that means in your moment.
That
And
is,
that's also called dharma, by the way, I believe, which is different from karma.
Dharma is similar to that concept of centered balance.
Yeah. Yes, and from that place, from that centered, balanced, quiet place, every moment has its perfect thing that you are moving into. So everything ends up working out in perfect harmony with all the forces of the universe. But if you're on the merry-go-round and you're kind of getting thrown around, uh, life becomes very confusing, very chaotic, very quickly.
Hmm. It's interesting. It reminds me of dance and conscious dance practice, because there's I definitely enjoy in the dance world the variation of high speed, high energy to incredibly slow to then all the way to meditation and being completely still. Um, Although I feel like that's kind of like a different dimension than the elation, joy, energy versus, because I don't feel like being still. It's like, um, but I found your description of that fascinating. It's like it's almost like you were saying you could, if you wanted, experience incredible joy and elation. You just know the universe always almost like makes you pay a price because it has to swing like a pendulum in some way.
Yeah, by my experience, that's what it does. I haven't compared this with everybody, but it seems to do that. For every high, there's a low. So yeah, staying right in the middle, happily, you find your comfort zone and just work from there. Um,
It's almost like I'm imagining like an artist who's like, I only paint with bright yellow and white for joy. It's the only color I paint with.
right.
And it's like
Yeah.
they have all this art, it's beautiful white and yellow, and the universe is saying there's only one thing that can happen here. It's gonna get dark and dirty
It's
and
gonna get dark. Yeah, we need some shadow there. Yeah, isn't that true? That's a great analogy. Yeah.
yeah, you can have the whitest, yellowest piece of art that's ever been created. Just guarantee eventually the universe will show you another color.
Exactly. And that's very Buddhist. I mean, that's called the middle way. That's the middle way. You find that place that's just right. It's almost like, uh, you know, trying to sing a song, right? Each note that you're singing, you're wanting to find the right note. You're not wanting to sing flat or sharp so that you can sing a beautiful song. You want to, hit the right notes. Not too left and not too right. And your whole life is like that. Your whole life is like a song, and you just have to know what's the right note at any given moment.
Yeah, it's really reminding me of my life as a painter. If I can like continue with the painting, because I'm not a great singer, so I don't have a good, you
We'll
know,
stick with the art
yeah.
technology. Yeah, go ahead.
But like in my, one thing I learned in high school, in my AP when I got way into art was some artists are tortured by perfectionism. They're trying to make the perfect painting all the time, and it literally upsets them and stresses them out. Even if occasionally they come close to what they want, they are never really satisfied. And so it's like this painful experience to watch. And I found that I very eventually I settled into, whatever ends up on that canvas is perfect. And once you do that and you stop caring about not only your own judgment of it, but everyone else's completely, it's suddenly a much more, it's just like instead of going for an all white, all yellow, perfect, beautiful canvas, you just say, whatever's on there is perfect. Even if the universe throws mud on it, it's perfect. It just makes it way more fun
Yeah.
and fast and enjoyable.
Reminds me of the artist, is it Pollock? Is that his name? The
Yeah,
guy that just
absolutely.
sprays paint all over the place and makes millions with that. Yeah, it's can you see the beauty in everything? A lot of people can't do that. That's a really good point you're bringing up. It's
Hmm.
powerful. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely
So,
not that way in life, though. I definitely am like, this Earth could be governed better. But it's been very weird having the alien stuff that I know you and I have talked about a lot, um, and we should also tell anyone who's listening to this that you were a guest twice or a co-host on the Beyond Humanity podcast. So more, there's other discussions if people are just like enthralled by our discussion of meditation and aliens.
yeah, and like I said, I do have a YouTube channel and a website. So, those are discussions there too. They're
Oh
fun.
yeah. And
Yeah.
tell people what is your intention with those mediums? What are you sharing on a regular basis?
Well, basically, my whole thing is to help people use these tools to find their own path. I do believe that everyone has their own unique path. We can't try to be somebody else, it will never work. We have to be our own. You could say we are a piece of the puzzle, and we can't try to be a different piece of the puzzle. We are what we are, and we are needed. We are required to fill in the whole picture. And the only way to really feel your um, purpose is through meditation. And that's I'm going to admit that is totally my personal opinion. But I truly believe that it's only through the quiet mind and the mindful present moment that we're going to know exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So that's why I'm a life coach. I do that. I help people do that, use that. Yeah. So,
Well, it's you have uh, you've been my life coach many times over the years, and it's been incredibly helpful. So it's really, um, I feel like I've been planning on doing something like this where we could share your wisdom with an audience and uh, create some ways for people to just sort of like sink in and learn um, and explore the meaning of the universe the way I have been able to with you over the years. Um, so I think this is a really amazing gift. I'm so happy we're recording this. I'm going to share this in different ways online. We're gonna, so those of you that can see the screen, if you're watching the video version of this, you're seeing a 3D world that's part of this world I've created called Hive One, where people can share ideas and explore the truth in a very safe environment. And so this is going to be one of the first sort of 3D experiences that I make a permanent feature on Hive One. And if we do another recording, we'll make another little room that people can go into, and just each show will be like almost like a living sculpture garden that you can be in. And hopefully in the future there'll be some people will join us, and you can just like you do, I know you do on a regular basis, you do guided meditations for people in different formats. So hopefully this can be another format where you can share that.
oh, this is great, Matt. Yeah, and I so appreciate the platform and just everything. And having gotten to know you over the years, everything you do is just fascinating. And you've taught me probably more than I've taught you. So thank you.
Well, that is, I think that's what life is about. It's and I why I create these the things I do online is to try to figure out how to create environments where people can come in and share the best of their themselves in a safe way. Because there's so much instinct in the world to make. It's almost like what you said about like if you go super happy, it's going to come super dark. It's like the minute you make an environment that is super happy and beautiful, forces in the inner world come in to try to throw toxic energy on it. It's like this weird, don't know quite what is at work there.
Yeah, and then there's the whole subject of karma. So it goes way down all kinds of rabbit holes. And I, it's possible that somebody could live their whole life just in a state of, you know, comfort and happiness. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're out there somewhere. I have
Yeah.
never met them, and I'm only really talking about my life, and I'd be curious to know if it's true with everybody that every time you have a real good up, it's just a matter of time, sometimes a day, sometimes years, but eventually it's going to go down. That's my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, excellent. I think what do you think we wrap up there for
Yeah,
this week? And yeah, and I'm hoping we do this again either maybe weekly or bi-weekly if you're interested. And
sounds good. Sounds like fun.
awesome. Okay, so I'll thank our audience and I'm gonna stop the recording and so that we will be done. Thank you for
All
listening.
right.
All
Thanks,
right,
Matt.
thank you.